Hi there, it's Ali, just doing some work on the van. So what I'm doing today is just insulating underneath. So I'll fill you in on how we're doing it, and hopefully it might help some of you with your own caravans too. So welcome to the underneath of the van, and what you can see under here, hopefully, is there's already some insulation. This black bit here, which is factory fitted stuff. And what I'm planning to do is add some extra insulation between this space, so between this beam and across these cross beams as well. So for our insulation, we've gone for these IKO Exotherm boards. As you can see, this is the thickness. This is actually factory seconds that we've got from a place in South Wales, and you can see on here the thickness is about 60 to 80 mils. It's actually a wedge board, so that means that one end might be a little bit thicker than the other end, but for what we're using it's really not a problem. Some of the brands similar to this are Kingspan, and I think there's another brand called Celotex, which you can get from most kind of big warehousey type DIY stores. And it's always worth knowing what the thermal rating is. So what's the likelihood of heat being lost through one side or cold coming in from the other. So the better the thermal rating, the better it is for the underside of the van. So tools for this job, it is a pretty simple job, and it is a job that I'm doing on my own. Amy's inside with the baby. So we've got a handsaw, we've got a tape measure, we've got a mask, and that's to prevent, you know, the dust from getting anywhere down my throat into my lungs as you cut the sheets. Pair of gloves and a marker to do the measuring of the boards with as well. So nice and simple. Top tip, it'd be much easier to do this with an electric saw. Another top tip, the offcuts that you've got, measure them and write on the top what width they are, because I know when I get to the other end of the van I'm going to need these bits, and it'll just save a bit of time, so I won't need to measure them again. Because I'm so bad at cutting, I'm going to measure both ends. They're about ½ centimetre off. So this is the first board that was fitted, nice and tight in, but something else to consider as you're doing this job is to make sure that you can cut some bits out for the air vents. Really important not to block these, and they're super important for air circulation around the van. Some people do suggest blocking them up in the winter, but it is important to let air circulate, not just for safety but to prevent condensation and things like that as well. So you can see how easy this one has been to kind of wedge in. So I don't intend to use anything extra over the boards to keep them in, because I've cut them to a fit, which means that they're kind of nice and tight and they're not coming out from there. So that's a good job well done. The good news is there's companies that you can pay to come and do this. rest of you that have to get under a caravan in the mud and the dirt and do it yourself. But we're on a budget. The boards all together for the whole 35-foot length and 10-foot width of the van were about £300, which is a massive saving on what they would cost to buy them new. So given that it's dry weather, we thought we'd have a go ourselves. So far it's going well. Only another 26 feet to go. Gotta excuse the Christmas socks. So I'm just coaxing it in, and I'll make sure it's trimmed to the other end now. So that next bit is going in this gap here, but there's this pesky electric wire that runs across the width, so it'd be tricky to fit the board up and over. So I'm going to put it into this gap and then slide it back like I've done before. So this is that tricky bottom corner that I mentioned earlier. So we've got earthing cables for the earthing rods, we've got the LPG gas line coming in, we've also got the electric running in from the supply underground all the way over there, right up into the fuse box of the van. So I think I'll leave this corner for now and use some of those offcuts to cut into smaller shapes, just so that I can avoid, breaking anything there or getting in the way of anything.